This morning's first reading is from the book of Joshua, chapter 2, verses 1 through 21. Then Joshua, son of Nun, secretly sent 2 spies from Shittim. "Go look over the land," he said, "especially Jericho." So they went and entered the house of a prostitute named Rahab and stayed there. The king of Jericho was told, "Look, some of the Israelites have come here tonight to spy out the land." So the king of Jericho sent this message to Rahab: "Bring out the men who came to you and entered your house, because they have come to spy out the whole land." But the woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them. She said, "Yes, the men came to me, but I did not know where they had come from. At dusk, when it was time to close the city gate, they left. I don't know which way they went. Go after them quickly. You may catch up with them." But she had taken them up to the roof and hidden them under the stalks of flax she had laid out on the roof. So the men set out in pursuit of the spies on the road that leads to the fords of Jordan, and as soon as the pursuers had gone out, the gate was shut. Before the spies lay down for the night, she went up on the roof and said to them, "I know that the Lord has given you this land, and that a great fear of you has fallen on us, so that all who live in this country are melting in fear because of you. We have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to Sihon and Og, the 2 kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, whom you completely destroyed. When we heard of it, our hearts melted in fear, and everyone's courage failed because of you. For the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on the earth below. Now then, please swear to me by the Lord that you will show kindness to my family, because I have shown kindness to you. Give me a sure sign that you will spare the lives of my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and that you will save us from death." "Our lives for your lives," the men assured her. "If you don't tell what we are doing, we will treat you kindly and faithfully when the Lord gives us the land." So she let them down by a rope through the window, for the house she lived in was part of the city wall. She said to them, "Go to the hills so that the pursuers will not find you. Hide yourselves there 3 days until they return, and then go on your way." Now the men had said to her, "This oath you made us swear will not be binding on us unless, when we enter the land, you have tied the scarlet cord of the window through which you let us down, and unless you have brought your father and mother, your brother and your family into your house. If any of them go outside your house into the street, their blood will be on their own heads. We will not be responsible. As for those who are in the house with you, their blood will be on our head if a hand is laid on them. But if you tell what we are doing, we will be released from the oath you made us swear." "Agreed," she replied. "Let it be as you say." So she sent them away, and they departed, and she tied the scarlet cord in the window. The second reading is from Matthew 1, verses 1 through 6. This is the genealogy of Jesus, the Messiah, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham was the father of Isaac. Isaac, the father of Jacob. Jacob, the father of Judah and his brothers. Judah, the father of Perez and Zerah, whose mother was Tamar. Perez, the father of Hezron. Hezron, the father of Ram. Ram, the father of Amminadab. Amminadab, the father of Nahshon. Nahshon, the father of Salmon. Salmon, the father of Boaz, whose mother was Rahab. Boaz, the father of Obed, whose mother was Ruth. Obed, the father of Jesse. And Jesse, the father of King David. This is the word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God. Will you pray with me? Lord, as we continue to worship you this morning through your holy scriptures, we ask that You would use it now to light the dark corners of our minds, to warm the cold places in our hearts, and to heal the brokenness in our lives. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, I don't know if y'all could tell this morning, but maybe we're just not completely ready for Christmas. And I don't know how every single year we kind of joke behind the scenes of church leadership, because every single year we're ready for Advent and then we're not. We work really hard. We get all of our decorations up, and somehow or another, we are just not quite ready for the season to be here. And that was no different for us this year. And I don't know about you guys, but I have struggled this year more than most. I'm usually Buddy the Elf. That's usually my Christmas spirit, is smiling's my favorite, and we're excited and I can't wait for Christmas to be here. I used to be a person in our house that would beg Jason to get the stuff out before Thanksgiving, and he would be like, no, not until after Thanksgiving. But this year's particularly, I have felt like making room for Christmas has been tough. In fact, we went to go get our living room ready, and we felt like we needed to move furniture out of the way. I needed to physically move furniture and make space. And I'm still not done. I have nativities out all over my house, one on the ping pong table, not in places where they belong. I found all the right characters for all the right sets, but I haven't quite found where I am making room for them in my house. And I have a feeling I'm not the only one. Even if it's not Christmas, y'all know that feeling of not having enough space, right? Have you ever needed to go on a vacation and not been able to fit all of your things in your car? Right? Or have you ever not been able to fit all of your things in your suitcase? That one for sure, right? You're trying to shove as much as you can into that carry-on, right? And what do we do when we don't have enough room for something? We get rid of something. Yes, we got to take something out maybe, right? Why are we taking something out? Because we have to make room for whatever it is that we know we need to bring with us, right? And so when we are in these moments of making room, we shift something, we move something, we often open up space we didn't know we had. One time we were going to Oklahoma and we didn't open up space we didn't know we had inside the vehicle, but we added something to the back of our vehicle, right? So that we could make space for the things that we needed to bring with us. This Advent and Christmas, we are journeying through a season that invites each of you to make room. Not just to make room in your homes for Christmas trees, and not even just to make room in your calendars for extra worship services and parties. Not even just to make room in your checkbooks for presents, right? But to make room especially in your hearts for the coming of Christ. I grew up in a home where we never had a guest enter if the house was not ready for a guest. We always had the house ready when a guest entered in. And yesterday, I got to help my mom host one of the events that she gets so excited about all year. She puts on a Christmas tea for all of the Palermo ladies. And there's about 20 of us. We look forward to it every year. And y'all, she decks out her house. If you know my mom is extra. I love her to death. But and I love all of her details, but she has everything especially appointed, and every detail thought out, and every tea sandwich was homemade and especially cut, and scones were homemade. Everything is very well appointed. And so if you know anybody who is a everything in its place kind of person, everything has a place and everything in its place, that is my mother. And so I slept at her house to get ready for this. She was having all these people over, and you know what I was doing on the morning was I was vacuuming glitter off of the floor, because the floors needed to be clean. We had decorated with a bunch of Christmas stuff, right? But there's glitter everywhere and there's artificial snow everywhere. And I'm vacuuming, anxiously hurrying up to get this house ready for guests. And I thought to myself, I wonder if we do this when we're trying to make room for Jesus. I wonder how much we think about Jesus, wants to come into our lives in a certain way. Maybe he's nudging you, pushing you in a way that's uncomfortable for you. And perhaps, possibly, you don't feel like he can come in quite yet because you need to clean up the floor, or you need to take out some trash, or you need to do something, right? So that your space is fit for Jesus. And what I want to say to you this morning is this season is the season where we hear this phrase every year, there was no room in the inn, right? And where did they go instead? Where was their room? The stable, which was really probably more like a cave, right? And there's animals in there, and it's messy. There's probably actual poop in there. You know, it stinks. It's gross. We're in a barn. And yet, this is where Jesus came. See, we all live our lives like if we want Jesus to be able to come in to parts of our lives, we kind of feel like we need to clean ourselves up first. Maybe there are pieces and parts of your own life that you've been following Jesus your entire life, but you still haven't let him into this little part over here. There might be a room or a corner. And my question for you this season is, how is God inviting you to make some space? And how might he be saying to you, it doesn't need to be a perfect space. It doesn't need to be an Airbnb. The floors don't have to be clean. There can be glitter on the sofa. You know, you can have dirty dishes in the sink. I just need a space. I just need you to open the door. I just need you to let me come in and sit down. That's all I require. Is there a place in your life that perhaps you could open the door? A place in your life that you might be able to make room. See, when I am under pressure and stressed out and afraid, the last thing I want to do is make room for somebody else, right? Like when I'm under pressure, especially if I'm going through stuff personally, and like I tend to go like back up and be like, everybody leave me alone, right? I shut down and I shut people out. And that's typically, I think, what a lot of us do. You might get a smaller inner circle, you might withdraw a little bit. But here Rahab has this whole other approach. She is under real pressure in this moment. She is in enemy territory. Enemies have come and surrounded her. They are trying to take away the land where she has lived for her entire life. And what we learned when Andy read the Joshua text is that Rahab is a sex worker. She's a Gentile. She's a woman. I mean, y'all, in this culture, she's a Canaanite. In this culture, she is scum. Like she's the bottom of scum. You know, there are even people in Rahab's community that believe Rahab deserves the death penalty for the way that she is living her life, that she ought to be stoned. And yet, God has chosen Rahab in this story. And when these two strangers knock on Rahab's door, she does not know them. She is afraid. She is under pressure, right? She is scared. She can't trust anything. And instead of hiding, which is probably what I would do, and hope that they would just go on to the next house, she opens the door. She makes room for strangers, and she lets them in. And little does she realize that by doing so, she is not only going to change Israel's history, but even her own. See, when we read the story, that's a long story. I really wanted you to hear the whole thing in case you hadn't known it before. But when you read the story, you hear how Rahab lets these guys in. She puts them up on the roof. And then after a little while, she goes up to them and she says, hey, I believe that you are people of the Lord. I believe the stories that I am hearing about your God. And because I believe it, I am going to put my trust in you and I'm going to save your life. And I'm asking you to do the same for me. And not only does she save her family's life in that moment, but that moment leads to the victory over Jericho for Israel, right? Like that is this pivotal moment. But Rahab's story doesn't even stop there, does it? Because we fast forward to the New Testament and we hear Rahab's name at the beginning of Matthew. Andy and Valerie are our lay readers today. Valerie read at first service. and I'm going to tell a little story on them, like they practiced together because they're like, is this real? Karen, our administrative assistant, was like, hey, this is a hefty one. Just giving you a heads up, because there were all these names. And Karen even said, are you reading the genealogy in church this Sunday? And I said, yes, I am. And it's for a reason. Number one, Matthew is the only person that mentions Rahab. And it's intentional because Matthew is trying to point out Jesus' lineage, the fulfillment of the prophecies, but he chooses to include these women as a major important part of Jesus' story. And so not only does Rahab save her family, not only does Rahab allow Israel to come into victory, also Israel, she becomes kind of like a mother figure in Israel. She becomes somebody that they memorialize and look up to and give thanks for, a major part of Israel's story. But now every single time the story of Jesus is told, we also know that it connects back to Rahab. I don't know if you caught this, but I'm just going to say it for you. So Rahab was, I don't want to mess it up. Rahab was the wife of Boaz, right? I'm sorry, of Salmon. So Rahab married a man named Salmon. There I am. And then she became the mother of Boaz. And y'all remember who Boaz is, right? Boaz marries Ruth, right? And so Ruth and Boaz have a boy named Obed. And then Obed has this boy named Jesse. Have y'all ever heard around Advent time the sprout or the shoot off of Jesse's tree? That is a mention and a callback to Rahab. That is Rahab's part of that story in Isaiah. And so Jesse is the father of who? Do y'all remember? King David, right? And so here we have this incredible story of this woman whose life really, really could have just been defined by trauma, defined by social status, defined by abuse, defined by a lack of identity. And here, instead of all of these things defining Rahab, she is defined by Jesus, and she is a part of Christ's story. And I just wonder, in your own life, are there things that, might be defined as broken, might be defined as lost, might be defined as dark and shattered or hopeless? Are there circumstances that you feel that way about in our life, in our world, in our society, in our nation? Advent comes to remind us that Christ still comes to those places. In fact, that is the whole story of Christmas. The whole story of Christmas is that Jesus is born in unlikely places. That Jesus shows up in the places that are too messy and that are too broken and that are too dark and that are too stinky. That those are actually the places where Jesus comes to life. And so because of that, we get to come to our God. And no matter how messy or how stinky or how hopeless a circumstance may be, we get to come to our God and receive Christ once again. And again, guys, you don't have to have a perfect place for Jesus to sit. It can be anywhere. It can be a little square on the floor, and he will come in. He will come in. Will you allow him? Will you make room so that you too might become a sanctuary? See, Rahab made physical space in her house for God's promise to be fulfilled. Little did she know that as she was making physical space in her house, God was going to do something in her heart, and she was going to go make internal space for God to come into her life. She was saved into Israel. But then on top of that, she was making room for Jesus all along. And here we read her name this morning. In what ways is God asking you to open a door? even if you're under pressure. Last week, we sang a song, and I think we're going to sing it every week, so y'all will know it by the time Christmas gets here. But we sang a song that is meaningful to me, that is a prayer, this very prayer, where we ask God to help us make room for him. And I can't think of a better way to prepare our hearts to come to the table this morning than to sing that once again. Will you sing that with me? Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. God, as we make our way to the communion table in a few moments, let us carry Rahab's courage and welcome in our hearts. May we come now before God and honestly say, Lord, I may not have much space to give, but what I have, I offer you. Make it yours. Make it holy.